You're watching CBC News BC. I'm Benit Brach here in the CBC Vancouver newsroom. Let's get to your top stories right now. Well, we'll start with an update on the search for two missing kayakers off Vancouver Island that just came in minutes ago. So a second body has been recovered by American authorities on San Juan Island. It was found this morning at around 6:30 a.m. The first body was recovered yesterday afternoon. Now, police say while it's believed to be the kayakers, the coroner will need to confirm their identities. 36-year-old Daniel McAlpine and 26-year-old Nicholas West were reported missing on Saturday. And the two men were kayaking from Darcy Island to Island View Beach. And remember the online harms legislation. The province put it forward to hold social medias accountable for the safety of their users, especially kids. Well, that has just been put on pause. The province says this comes after it reached an agreement with Meta, TikTok, X, formerly known as Twitter, and Snapchat to form an online safety action table.
The agreement is the bill's on pause, and we're setting up this action table with some really big companies that came to the table with us. What I expect to see at that table is action on online safety. We could be locked in litigation. It's my obligation to try this first, because in the end of the day, we want to make sure youth in British Columbia are safer.
Now, the province put forward the new legislation following the death of Carson Cleland. The 12-year-old boy from Prince George died by suicide last October after falling victim to online sextortion. Okay, so this is an incredible story. A baby in a stroller survived after being struck and dragged for 2 blocks in Squamish. Here's what happened. Police say they got calls saying a vehicle hit a pedestrian who was pushing a baby in a stroller at a crosswalk last night. Then the driver drove away with the stroller lodged in front of the vehicle. And police did find the baby still inside with non-life-threatening injuries. And the driver was arrested, and this investigation is ongoing. And police are asking anybody with information to contact them. And the city of Surrey has now passed its 2024 budget. It includes a 6% tax increase for property owners and a 1% tax increase for roads and traffic. Now, this was a razor-thin vote. Councillor Mandeep Nagra voted against it. He says the city could have reduced taxes if it wasn't for the city's policing dispute.
This could have been avoided by, using all that money that province was offering to us, and by saving by not delaying the transition. So I think this could have all of this increase could have been avoided.
The city staff says the average single-family household will pay just over $175 a year. And it's game day, so Vancouver Canucks fans are getting ready for Game 2 of the playoff series against the Nashville Predators. Now, an update. Thatcher Demko, the goalie, has been injured and won't be playing in this game. And while fans are excited for more action on the ice tonight, the games are also having an effect beyond the rink.
I think it's huge, right? And not only that, the team that we have right now is probably one of the best teams that Vancouver's put together. So for us as a business, after the last 5 years, this is amazing for us. You don't get too many breaks in the restaurant business. We're already getting reservations for bookings just for playoff games.
And that puck will drop tonight on home ice at Rogers Arena at 7 p.m. And that's it for now. You're watching CBC News BC. I'm Benit Brach. Stay right here. BC Today is up next.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. It is a busy day. In about half an hour, Public Safety Minister Mike Farnworth will make an announcement all about Surrey policing. We'll bring that to you live, and we'll take your reaction on the open line. But first, the federal budget's changes to capital gains tax continues to draw backlash. And now doctors are the latest to speak up. How does the change on capital gains tax affect you? We'll take your calls. I'm Michelle Elliott. Welcome to BC Today. Thanks for joining us on CBC Radio 1, CBC Television, and live streaming on the CBC News app, cbc.ca/BC, and on YouTube on the CBC Vancouver page. And now you can call us on our top story. How does the increase in capital gains tax impact you? You can call us 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. You can hit pound 690 on your cell phone. You can also email us, bctoday@cbc.ca. Well, last week's federal budget was presented as fairness for all generations. But changes to the capital gains tax are creating frustration among some Canadians. The changes for individuals would increase the inclusion rate on capital gains above $250,000. So that essentially means capital gains taxes will apply to a greater portion of income generated from the sale of property or stocks. Well, today, the Canadian Medical Association is warning that that will affect doctors' retirement savings, and it's asking the government to reconsider. This morning, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau spoke in Saskatoon and defended the change.
And the idea of setting aside to be able to save up for a down payment or eventually being able to get a mortgage seems further and further out of reach. That's why with this budget, we're bringing back fairness in the system for young people. And we're doing it by asking people who are the absolute wealthiest in this country to contribute a little bit more. I understand for some people this may cost more if they sell a cottage or a secondary residence. But young people can't buy their primary residences yet.
We're asking you, how will changes to the capital gains tax affect you? You can call us 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. You can hit pound 690 on your cell phone. You can also email bctoday@cbc.ca. And Mark Ting joins me now. He's a partner with Foundation Wealth. He's also the personal finance columnist for On the Coast in Metro Vancouver with Gloria Makarenko. You can hear him on Thursday afternoons. Hello, Mark.
How you doing?
Very well. Nice to have you with us. What kind of calls are you getting?
I'm getting a lot of calls.
Yeah.
So it runs the gambit too. So there's a group of people that are really worried about maybe we should sell things, crystallize these capital gains before this deadline, which is June 25th. So which can make sense, but not always. I also heard from people who said, I'm really surprised that I'm caught up in this because I don't feel like I'm part of this 0.13%.
Of the wealthiest Canadians.
Of the wealthiest Canadians. And it was acknowledged that of that 0.13%, not included in that was anybody who owned corporations, and such as a lot of the doctors or some other people that we really need in our society right now, like tradespeople, electricians, plumbers. And of course, they have to do this sort of thing, these tax planning strategies to save for their retirement, because they will be working really hard now, raising money, keeping it in as a tax strategy, and then as they retire, they're going to ease it out, and that just makes prudent tax planning sense.
And earn capital gains on that. So what exactly is the change? Can you just explain in layman's terms, what will it mean to raise that inclusion rate above 250,000?
Well, it's 250,000 for personal people who don't have corporations.
Okay, we'll get to that afterwards, but yeah.
Yeah, and for most people, it will not affect them. Like, very rarely does anybody trigger $250,000 worth of capital gains. There's, like, if you have a planner, you can ease these things out. You can do level tax planning. Okay. However, where that net gets a lot wider, where it goes beyond that 0.13%, are one-offs. For example, if Prime Minister Trudeau mentioned selling properties or estate planning. Even like if someone were to pass away, then a lot of a lot of assets get triggered and are disposed of upon death,
Right.
which often bumps you into that level where you get taxed at a higher rate. So now we're having a lot of conversations with children of parents who are maybe in their 90s, late 80s, thinking maybe there should be some warm hand giving now. Should we be triggering these gains now, as opposed to waiting until they pass away where everything gets triggered? And then we also have people on the other end of the spectrum, which are young people who bought real estate and they couldn't afford to buy real estate as a principal residence, but they were able to buy a revenue property, maybe in Alberta or Edmonton, where it was much cheaper. And their hope was to buy this revenue property, allow it to grow, so at some time in the future, they could sell it and then buy a principal residence.
Okay.
So again, the net is pretty wide.
Wow, I hadn't heard of that example. And so what do you make then of, this is not from any political point of view, but hearing the Prime Minister say this is about, making things, leveling things out for younger Canadians?
I think this 0.13% is a bit disingenuous. First off, that's 440,000 of the wealthiest Canadians. But again, I do believe this will affect hundreds of thousands and not millions of people. So we had over 300,000 people who have corporations. They're caught up in this. And then there's the one-offs. So in terms of fairness, I would say that a lot of people get caught up in this. They would say it's not fair. Like, they're just trying to get ahead. They don't have pensions. They've taken risks. They're trying to invest in their futures, and now they're paying a much bigger tax burden. And again, it's across the spectrum. It's not just those 0.13%.
Okay. Well, we are opening up our phone lines to you, asking you if you are part of that net that is affected by this changes in capital gains tax. What would it mean for you? Love to hear from you. 1-800-825-5950. 604-669-3733, and you can hit pound 690 on your cell phone. Let's go to Ralph now in Kitimat. And Ralph, what are your thoughts about this change and how it might affect you?
Well, since the banks were not paying any interest on your saving accounts, so I know of a few people, including myself, have gone to the stock market to get a bit money on your investment, a bit more than you would get in your savings account. And locking the money down in banks on, what shall I say, RSP and other instruments, well, that is not really a good idea for some people that are of advanced age, right? And that might work for young people, but not so much for the older generation. And so if you're investing prudently in the stock market and you get the dividends, and we know that stocks go up and down, but at least you gain a little bit more than just in your pure savings account. And tax-free savings accounts, well, you have to have the money to put that in there in the first place, right?
And so would it affect that then? What Ralph has been doing?
I don't think so, unless he has a lot of money. So most people have the bulk of their assets in RRSPs or tax-free savings account where you are not subject to these capital gains taxes. Now, if someone's saved for a long time and they're very prudent and they've maxed out their TFSAs and their RRSPs, then you go into a taxable account. But even there, you probably will not get caught up in this, because even if you've been investing for a long time, you can do tax planning, so level income planning. You could take out little bits under that 250 threshold so that you'd still get taxed at the 50% inclusion rate.
Right.
Where it really gets people is those big one-offs, and that's when they have to sell a property or something where maybe they've owned it for decades or they wanted to pass it down to their kids. They have to trigger those taxes before they can pass it down. And those are the one-offs where they get caught up in it.
And then it becomes 67%.
67% above the 250,000 threshold.
Anything above the 250,000 threshold.
Unless you're a corporation where it's from $1.
Way to segue. So here we are now. We've been talking about individuals. So for corporations, that's different. It starts actually right at the ground.
Yes, and I think that's a big problem for people, because there is over 300,000 people who have corporations and invest this way. And again, they are not part of this top echelon people in terms of taxpayers. These are just regular people, plumbers, electricians,
So it's not those wealthy corporations that we hear about?
They'll get They'll be affected as well. Yeah. So they're gonna pay higher. So that is a disincentive, which I guess the wealthier corporations are saying less people will invest in their companies because now they have to pay out more for tax. So not great for their stock price, not great for growth, not great for investment. So that's a concern. But also just the regular people that just have corporations that, small business, it affects a lot of those people as well.
And I'll put out the numbers again. We're asking you if you are going to be affected or what your thoughts are on these changes to the capital gains tax. Our phone numbers are 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. You can hit pound 690 on your cell phone as well. And Mark Ting is with me, partner with Foundation Wealth and the personal finance columnist for On the Coast. And so when you talk about those, those small businesses, is that where these doctors come in that have spoken out now?
That's correct. So the doctors, often they don't have pensions, they have to save. So this is sort of how it works. Doctors, we're in massive need right now for doctors, right? We know there's a huge shortage. So doctors are out there, they're probably working lots of extra hours. Instead of 40 hours, they might be doing 60 or 70. Now, because they're working all this time, they're actually earning a lot of money. But they're working all the time, so they don't really spend it. So they have the choice to take out how much income they want to take out in that year. Just because they made it this year, they don't have to declare that in taxes because they could be working a lot. Now, it could be cyclical. Maybe not doctors, but maybe an electrician. They work crazy hours this year, but things change. Maybe the economy goes down, and for future years, their jobs go down, they make a lot less money, at that which point they were happy because they kept money in their corporations for those rainy days, for those slow times. So these are not tax cheats. They're not trying to get away with things. They're like, we're working really hard right now, putting in overtime because we know the good times won't last. And when the good times are not lasting, things are slow, they'll have the money out there and they'll take it out and pay tax on it.
Okay, so I can see the concerns being kind of not perhaps right now, but affecting planning for what to do in the future.
Planning, and we're talking about planning for decades.
Yeah.
So like we're talking pensions, and because they don't have pensions, so they have to make this money last, right?
Let's take a call from Colleen. Our number again is 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733, asking you what changes to the capital gains tax that were proposed in the federal budget released last week, what that would mean for you. And hello to Colleen in North Vancouver. Welcome.
Oh, hi there. Yes, I was wondering if you have any advice because my husband and I, he has his own company, and instead of investing in the stock market for his retirement, because he doesn't get a pension, we decided to purchase a rental property. And so we've held this rental property for many, many years, and we plan on retiring in the next 2 years, which means we have to sell it in the 1 year. Whereas if we had made the choice to go into the stock market, we could have taken money out of the stock slowly, so we wouldn't exceed the 250.
Right.
And so I just wanted to make that comment that I feel like, even though they think they're taxing sort of the wealthy, if you will, but this was sort of a pension, like a retirement plan, and
yeah, exactly what Mark's been talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what we're finding is a lot of people in this situation, they're concerned. So either they're placing their revenue property for sale like right now, and they're hoping to try to sell it before that deadline and pay the lower rate, the current rate. The problem with that is there's a whole bunch of people thinking this way. So we're seeing quite a few new revenue properties out there. And if you're a buyer, you know this, and you're going to bid accordingly because you know that they have a deadline. So that's, I mean, they do have some time to do it, but when you're selling property, it takes more than often a couple months.
Yeah.
The other side to it is, okay, if they can't do that, then they're going to take it off, and they're probably not going to sell it for a good chunk of time. So supply comes on, and then it comes off.
Yeah.
So it's a tough decision.
So it'll be interesting to watch the housing market following this, and of course following short-term rental rules here in BC coming in May. Colleen, thank you very much. Did you have a question for Mark, or?
I don't know that there's any other way around it except for what he just said. You either sell right now, or you just have to swallow it. Yeah.
The one thing I'll say, though, is if you have a really large embedded capital gain, like you've owned this property for a long time, You have to think of a whole bunch of other factors, like your marginal tax rate today if you are still working, because it might make sense if you had like a $500,000 capital gain not to actually sell it this year, because you'd end up paying more taxes. You might lose old age security. You might lose a whole bunch of other income tested things, as opposed to selling it in a later year. So it's not a cut and dry decision. You have to. I would talk to a tax planner.
Lots of considerations, Colleen. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks for the call.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Ian is up next now in Victoria. What are your thoughts on the changes to capital gains tax, Ian?
It's a normal thing that happens with taxes as we go through the process. And if someone, as an individual, is facing this for the first time, they need to unstick themselves from the chair and go and talk to a tax planner who, for hundreds of dollars, can save them thousands of dollars. That's my first point.
Okay, get that advice. Okay.
And don't think of this as a simple-minded thing. Capital gains is not for the average Yogi Bear. It's for folks that have made it well. The second thing that I mentioned when I called in, I do a lot of volunteer taxes for low-income people. There's a federal program that exists all around the countryside. And I've been doing taxes this year for people whose gross income is under $25,000. And when I think about those people struggling in what we've got with inflation and everything else, I don't get too upset about people having to pay taxes on capital gains. We had to pay some this year, and so be it. And we paid some last year. We sold a cabin last year, and yes, we got into the 50%, well into the 50%, and we had to search around to figure out how to do it. It took us about 3 months to do it. But you can get clever and you can get smart. You can stay on the right side of the law in doing it. So don't rush into the thing. Do it wisely. It's not something that happens to most people every day.
Yeah, Ian, thank you very much. Yeah, don't rush into anything, was Ian saying, but also that there should be a focus on taxes or incomes for people who are on the lower end of the income spectrum.
Yeah, and often right now, like the group that I'm sort of talking to a lot, people who've been calling me, are people that have like those family cabins and they do want to pass it to the next generation. And it's sort of like what Ian was saying, it's not that easy. You can't just pass it off to the next generation, pay the lower tax. Because often if those cabins have been around for a while, that tax bill is still large, even at the 50% inclusion rate, and somebody has to come up with that money, and they can't, and then it's quite disappointing for the family where they realize they can't do it, so they actually have to sell it, and that cabin is no longer a family possession.
We have an email, actually following up a little bit on Ian's point here. Peter writes from Nelson, something that's been missing in the conversation so far. People who own a cottage or second home, the value of which has increased greatly, have done no work to earn this appreciation in value. It's like winning a lottery, money for nothing. So they should not complain about the modest increase in capital gains tax, which they will have to pay. Also keep in mind that the capital gains rate has fluctuated between 50% and 75% over the years. I do feel sorry for self-employed tradespeople who want to retire. And for home, a large part of their savings is tied up in tools and equipment. I think he means for whom a large part of their savings is tied up in tools and equipment. Maybe some more allowance should be made for them. Now, you talked about it's the net kind of being wider than has been described. Should there be perhaps different pockets then, if he's talking about tradespeople, versus those wealthy corporations, let's say?
I would say so. I would say that there should be more consideration for those tradespeople. We are trying to attract tradespeople, all these people, doctors, whatnot, to our community. They pay a lot of taxes already, whether they're in a corporation or not. They're generally paying a lot of taxes, and we want to keep them here because essentially their skills are very transferable, and everybody wants them. So if one community is treating them really what they feel unfairly, it's not too hard for them to make that decision to move to somewhere else where they feel like they're treated better. And then, of course, the problem there is then we have to spend more money to attract them back, and it's kind of a circle.
That's really interesting, the kind of ripple effects that this may have. And we have a question. I have about 30 seconds, but James wants to know, if someone dies and has $500,000 in the bank, does their estate pay capital gains, and what percentage And as a student trying to understand this, how would the 250 make a difference?
So $250,000 worth of capital
Yeah.
gains plus, the estate would pay for it. So, but the state has to have the money. So again, if it happens to be one of those cottages that they're going to send down to their kids that they hope, and then that's all they have, then likely either the kids would have to pay for those tax, or if the state can't do it, or it just be sold and given to somebody else.
Mark, so good to have you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Mark Ting, partner with Foundation Wealth, and on the coast in Metro Vancouver, he is a personal finance columnist for that program. It's now 12:26, 1:26 in the Mountain Time Zone. You're with BC Today. Well, we'll have a lot more on the day's top stories on the afternoon shows coming up today in your region, in Metro Vancouver. Yes, here's what's coming up on the coast.
Hi there, Michelle. It's Gloria Makarenko here, and I hope you can join us this afternoon for On the Coast here on CBC Radio 1. No, I guess I better not say because it's going to be streaming there. Michelle, hi there. It's Gloria Makarenko inviting you to join us this afternoon for On the Coast. Our colleague Andrea Warner has a brand new book out. It's called The Time of My Life, and it's all about the enduring popularity of the film Dirty Dancing. So Andrea will be here to tell us all about it. Also, you don't need me to tell you. It's game 2 of the playoff series between the Vancouver Canucks and the Nashville Predators. Wow, this city is on fire. So much excitement. We'll get you caught up on everything you need to know for game 2. Join us between 3 and 6 for On the Coast.
Gloria, thank you very much. You can hear Gloria Makarenko on the Coast on CBC Radio 1 in Metro Vancouver. And you can use the CBC Listen app. I see Public Safety Minister Mike Farnworth getting ready at the lectern for a press conference scheduled to start in just a few minutes. We'll take you there live coming up after the CBC News. And here's the update from Robert Zimmerman.
Good afternoon. Authorities say 2 bodies have now been recovered from the waters around Washington State. Over the weekend, Daniel McAlpine and Nicholas West were reported missing from Vancouver Island after setting off in a tandem kayak. Earlier today, the RCMP confirmed one of the bodies is believed to be one of the kayakers. Police say remarkably a baby survived after its stroller was dragged for 2 blocks under a vehicle in Squamish last night. RCMP say the person pushing the stroller was hit by the vehicle while in a crosswalk. The driver didn't immediately stop, even though the stroller became lodged under the vehicle. Police say neither the baby nor the person pushing the stroller suffered life-threatening injuries. And Sportsnet is reporting Canucks goalie Thatcher Demko is hurt and could be out for the rest of the team's first-round series against Nashville. Coach Rick Tocchet says Demko won't play tonight and is considered day-to-day. Tocchet says the injury is not the same problem that forced the all-star goalie out for several weeks near the end of the regular season. And now the forecast on the North Coast. Showers this afternoon with a high of 9. Highs reaching 17 with a mix of sun and cloud in the Peace. In the central interior, some sun and cloud with a high of 15. Highs up to 18 with lots of sunshine this afternoon in the Kootenays. In the southern interior, a high of 20 with a mix of sun and cloud. And for Metro Vancouver, Greater Victoria and the Fraser Valley, some sun and cloud this afternoon with highs up to 20 inland. And that's your CBC News update from Vancouver.
We are all on tenterhooks then for Demko and what's going to happen.
Tough being a Canucks fan. That's sad.
Yeah, this is the emotional roller coaster on which we all must be on during playoffs. Well, when they make it anyway. How are you feeling? How are you feeling about all this?
I think we'll get past it. We'll get over it.
We'll
Sure,
make it
let's
through.
be optimistic, Michelle. Why not?
It's been required of us before, hasn't it?
It's true.
So, I mean, what you said there is not the same kind of injury, so hopefully, fingers crossed, it won't be much longer.
Yeah, and day to day, sounds not too bad, right? There's speculation, right? He made an incredible split save.
Yes, I saw that.
In the
That was
first
incredible.
period, that was incredible. So,
yeah.
I mean, he did play the rest of the game after that. So
Yeah, maybe,
that's
you know,
encouraging.
the strain showed up after. I don't know. Yeah.
We're
I
not
did-
doctors,
When
so
I,
we don't
no,
know.
we're not doctors at all. But when I go to the gym, I feel it for days.
Sure. He might be a little, I mean, you're in great shape,
I'm in
Michelle.
the
He might be a
same
little
league.
more finely tuned. I don't know.
I would say much more,
Maybe.
much more. So, all the best. Fingers crossed for Thatcher Demko. The Canucks, of course, play the Predators, the Nashville Predators, in Game 2 of their first round playoff series tonight in Vancouver. And Rob will keep us updated.
Sure.
Thanks, Rob.
You bet.
Robert Zimmerman in the CBC Vancouver newsroom. Some more emails here on capital gains tax. And we have an email from several people, BC Today at cbc.ca. I'm just trying to find them for you right now. And Roger writes, I'm shocked at the amount of people who are complaining they had to pay for the profit made off the system. If you profited, you got lucky and pay your share. Meanwhile, M writes, we got into the workforce in early 80s and we will be affected. Let's take you live to Public Safety Minister Mike Farnworth. The Surrey Police Service will become the police of the jurisdiction on November 29th. This announcement is happening right now. And let's go to Minister Farnworth.
To the City of Surrey that will terminate the city's municipal police unit agreement with the province for the use of the RCMP as its police of jurisdiction. At the same time, the Surrey RCMP municipal police unit will be removed from the province's policing agreement with the federal government. This will effectively transfer responsibility for the delivery of policing and law enforcement in Surrey from the RCMP to the Surrey Police Service. This will also satisfy the requirement of Section 7 of the Police Amendment Act 2023 that the City of Surrey provide its policing and law enforcement services by means of a municipal police department, the Surrey Police Service. Before I finish, I want to take a moment to thank the RCMP and Surrey Police Service officers who work every day to keep people and businesses in the City of Surrey safe. I know that this transition has been challenging at times for you and your families, and your continued dedication to the people in Surrey has been incredibly appreciated by all those who are impacted. More than anything, people in Surrey want this to be over, and today we are turning a page on this chapter and beginning a new one. And I want to assure the people of Surrey and all British Columbians that I will continue to fulfill my duty to keep our community safe in Surrey and everywhere in the province. Thank you, and now I'd like to invite Chief Constable Lipinski and then RCMP Deputy Commissioner Dwayne McDonald to say a few words.
Thank you, Minister. Today's announcement is an important one for the future of policing in Surrey. I know this has been a long road, has not been easy for any of us. However, I think we can all agree that completing this transition is good for both Surrey residents and all policing staff who serve Surrey. Of course, for all of us at the Surrey Police Service, the Minister's announcement that SPS will become the police of jurisdiction on November 29th is very exciting. We've been preparing for this date for over 3 years, and we continue to work diligently to ensure SPS is prepared to transition into this role. I have complete confidence in the employees at SPS. We have attracted highly experienced police officers, civilian staff, as well as outstanding recruits who continue to build this organization in a collaboration and jointly with the people of Surrey. We have been working on well over 100 critical pieces of work to get ready for the police of jurisdiction. And to date, 93% of these tasks are completed or in progress. As always, the safety of the community we serve will be paramount throughout this process, as I know it's for the RCMP as well. At the present time, we have a total of 428 staff 367 sworn officers, and 61 civilians. With today's announcement, our hiring will ramp up. It is important to note that our hiring will continue to be aligned with the policing staffing numbers outlined in the City of Surrey's 5-year financial plan. The amount of work that has gone into building Surrey Police Service is nothing short of exceptional. But I know we have an incredible busy 7 months ahead of us. We are excited and honored to be doing this work so we can finish building an outstanding municipal police service that is tailor-made for Surrey. I want to thank Surrey residents and business owners for their patience, their support, and the warm welcome they have given to Surrey Police Service. I'd now like to invite Deputy Commissioner Dwayne McDonald to say a few words. Deputy.
Good afternoon. Thanks everyone for joining us here today. So now that the provincial government and Public Safety Canada have identified a pathway for transition and have set a target date for the Surrey Police Service to assume the role of police of jurisdiction, I'm sure many of you have questions. But first and foremost, and you've heard that already today, I want to assure the City of Surrey and its residents that our focus will continue to be to maintain public safety and deliver top-notch policing services as we move towards this phase of the transition. Our members recognize the honor of serving in such an amazing community as Surrey, and they're committed to continue to provide high-quality and professional policing in Surrey as we have for decades. The RCMP is committed to working closely with the Government of British Columbia, Public Safety Canada, the Surrey Police Service, and the City of Surrey as we identify and advance the necessary work to reach this next milestone in November. This includes identifying the details of the required transitional supports and working on the operational assistance and cooperation agreement. And so to the members of the RCMP that are working in Surrey and who continue to serve, I just want to thank you for your professionalism, your dedication, as we continue to police towards the final date of transition. I take great pride in the work that you do every day, and I'm thankful for your service. Thank you. And I'll turn the podium back to Minister Farnworth.
You've just been listening to a live press conference announcing that the date for the Surrey Police Service to become the police of the jurisdiction will be November 29th. We heard from Public Safety Minister Mike Farnworth earlier and Chief Norm Lipinski of the Surrey Police Service saying that they now have 428 staff, 360 of them to be sworn officers. And though hiring will continue, he says much of the work has been completed, but there will be a busy 7 months ahead. And you just heard from RCMP Deputy Commissioner Dwayne McDonald, who said they will work closely with the Government of BC, the Surrey Police Service, and the City of Surrey. So once again, that news just breaking now that the date for the Surrey Police Service to become the police of jurisdiction will be November 29th, announcing from the Public Safety Minister that the province is going to move forward with that transition to a municipal police force for Surrey. We're asking your calls now on the open line. What's your reaction to this announcement? You can give us a call, 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733, and you can hit pound 690 on your cell phone. And we have not heard yet from Surrey Mayor Brenda Locke on this. And you'll recall that in recent weeks, she rejected the province's offer of $250 million to transition to the Surrey Police Force, and $150 million of that was for the transition itself. So we are waiting to hear from any comment from Surrey Mayor Brenda Locke. Joining me now, though, is Surrey City Councillor Linda Annis. Good afternoon, Councillor. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Tell me about your reaction to the date that has now been announced and essentially saying this is it, we're going to move forward, and by November 29th, the SPS will be the police in the jurisdiction of Surrey.
I'm so pleased to hear that we finally have a date and that we'll be moving forward sooner than later, and I think the residents of Surrey certainly feel that way. This has been an ongoing topic now for the past 5.5 years, and everything else really has been sidelined since then. So I'm so pleased to hear that it's moving forward as quickly as it is. I think this is great news for Surrey.
Have you heard from your mayor?
I have not heard from my mayor. We were all together last evening at council meeting, and there was no
Right.
discussion. Obviously, at this time, we hadn't heard the announcement from the minister.
Okay, and did you expect this announcement today? Did you know that this press conference was going to be held with the SPS police chief and the deputy commissioner of the RCMP in Surrey?
I knew that the announcement was coming very, very soon. As of last night, I did not have the date, so was not aware that it was happening until very early this morning.
Okay. What do you make of the way that this, you just said we've been talking about this for years now, and you're glad that there is a date that has been set, but what do you make of the protracted process that we have been at? And here you are now. You were just at a meeting last night and this was not brought up. Here's the province making an announcement today without any, I guess, notice to you about it coming today. What do you make of that?
Well, I don't fault the government certainly for doing that. I'm glad that Minister Farnworth has stepped up and said it's happening now and we need to get on with it. It's unfortunate. We just did our budget last evening, and the budget was based on keeping the RCMP, and the one big item that was missing in there was the $150 million that we had, the city was to get to complete the transition. Of course, that now is in the hands of the province. So I'm disappointed, certainly, that we didn't have this information and that the mayor didn't accept the money because $150 million and subsequently the other $100 million that we completely lost is a lot of money for taxpayers of Surrey. That's $250 million. A couple of rec centers, could have been built with that money. Obviously, it's designated for the police transition, but it could have freed up money for other things.
My guest is Surrey City Councillor Linda Annis, and we're taking your calls, your reaction to the announcement just made moments ago by BC's Public Safety Minister that the Surrey Police Service transition will go ahead, and by November 29th, the Surrey Police Service will be the police of jurisdiction for Surrey. So that transition to a municipal police force is going to go ahead and will be completed by November 29th, or will take place by November 29th. And he was accompanied there by Surrey Police Service Chief Norma Lipinski and Surrey RCMP Deputy Commissioner Dwayne McDonald. What is your reaction to this announcement? What do you think it means for this ongoing debate, discussion, conflict between the province and Surrey Mayor Brenda Locke? What are your thoughts? You can call us 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. And people are watching this from around the province, regardless of not living in Surrey. And Jim is watching it from Kamloops. Hi, Jim.
Hi.
Thanks very much for calling. What are your thoughts on this story breaking today?
I just think it's a huge waste of money and 3 years of time and taxpayers' money. It's a huge waste of money to replace something that's already working.
Okay, so it's the transition is a waste of money.
Oh yeah, a waste of money and everybody's time.
Okay, and what are your thoughts on the need that's being presented by SPS for a transition to a local municipal force to, as they say, better reflect the needs of the citizens of Surrey?
Well, I just thought it would be a huge waste of money to replace something that's already working fine anyways.
RCMP's been working fine. Okay.
Well, yeah, that's my thoughts.
Yeah, Jim, thanks so much for the call. Great to hear from you.
Right on.
Take care. That's Jim in Kamloops. Again, our numbers are 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. You can hit pound 690 on your cell phone. And so is there going to be concern around the quality of the service that Surrey residents are going to get now that this transition is moving on? What are your thoughts about that, Councillor Annis?
Well, I have the utmost confidence in the Surrey Police Service. I think they will do an incredible job. It is, Chief Lipinski has had the opportunity to build a first-class force right from the ground up that is unique to Surrey. And I do think that he will do a fine job, as will the members of the Surrey Police Service that are the boots on the ground. I would like, though, to take a minute, if I could, and just, say that this has been huge amount of stress for both the members of the Surrey Police Service and the RCMP. And through all of this, they have done an absolutely incredible job of keeping us safe here in Surrey. And I know it's been so difficult because it has been going back and forth between the Surrey Police Service and the RCMP,
Right.
with no definitive decision.
What do you expect will happen then with the RCMP officers? What will take place as this continues for them?
Well, we do know that the RCMP are short a number of members. I believe the number, and it may be different now, that was quoted a few months ago was 1,500 members throughout British Columbia. So this could be a great opportunity for members that are currently working in Surrey to be redeployed, obviously to other detachments, but other detachments perhaps in the Lower Mainland. But at the end of the day, that's for the members and for the chief to make the determination.
Okay, and what are your thoughts on what our caller had to say about the waste of taxpayers' money?
Well, it sure has been a waste. The mayor has been saying all along that for each and every month that we have the two police services running, it's costing $8 million. This has been going on now since we're going back. We were transitioning with the Surrey Police Service, and then, of course, when this council got in, there was a full stop on that. So for the past year and a half, it's been costing the taxpayers $8 million. To round it, that's over $100 million. That's a new rec center for Surrey.
But there's been so much debate about which road is going to be more wasteful, right?
Well, yes, and what we should have done, and what I actually campaigned on back in 2018, was that we should have a referendum. This is the biggest decision that any council will ever make, and certainly the biggest expense that any residents in Surrey will incur. Policing is our number one cost on our property taxes. We needed to give the residents a say. We needed to put the facts on the table, and I say the real facts and the real budget, and then let the residents decide. Had we done that back in 2018, we would have been through this either with the Surrey Police Service or have made the commitment to stay with the RCMP, and not in the state of limbo.
That obviously did not happen, and not likely, I would imagine, to happen now. But what would be your response to Mayor Brenda Locke, who has been saying all along that she had the mandate, right, to turn around that transition, given her winning the election?
Well, I would say that's not true. Mayor Locke won by less than 1,000 votes. And when you look at the other incumbents and the former mayor, who lost incidentally by he was second, lost by less than 1,000 votes, that is not a clear mandate. When people vote for the mayor of their city, they vote for a multitude of reasons. Policing could be one, change of government could be another, or many other things. She did not have a mandate. A mandate would be, if you did a referendum, single issue, and get it done. We should have done that years ago. We wouldn't be in this dilemma.
My guest is Linda Annis, a Surrey City Councillor. We're asking for your reaction on the transition to the Surrey Police Service, and the date that's been announced by Public Safety Minister Mike Farnworth is November 29th. That is the date when the Surrey Police Service will become the police of jurisdiction. Just announced about 20 minutes ago at a press conference, along with Surrey Police Service Chief Norm Lipinski and Surrey RCMP Deputy Commissioner Dwayne McDonald. We're asking for your reaction on the open line, 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. You can hit pound 690 on your cell phone. Lisa is joining us from North Vancouver. Hi, Lisa.
Oh, hello. Thanks for having me on.
Sure thing. What are your thoughts?
I think this is great news for the people of Surrey, and it's really about time. It's unfortunate that it's been held up for so long, but it seems moving forward that the city has a chance to now build probably one of the finest police forces in North America. I think it's the right thing to do, and I think it's very good news.
What have been your thoughts as you have been watching the many months and even years of the story unfold, Lisa?
Well, it's unbelievable that it's taken this long, and it's a story you couldn't possibly write. But I think a city the size of Surrey needs a municipal police force, and I don't think anybody could argue with that. It's been a long time coming. It's unfortunate that Mayor Brenda Locke, who I understand initially voted for the transition as a councillor, has stood in the way, but it seems like at last the right decision has been made.
Lisa, thank you for your call from North Vancouver.
I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Take care. Alan actually phoned from Surrey, and Alan called in to say, I don't know why they transitioned. I like the RCMP. Brenda Locke is doing a hell of a good job, but was overridden. And that's Alan calling in from Surrey to just share that comment. Well, a few moments ago, the Public Safety Minister, Mike Farnworth, was asked a question by the CBC's Mira Baines, and he was asked if he had concerns from police. He had heard concerns, rather, from police services around the province about whether this transition would impact their ability to recruit. And here's Mike Farnworth's response.
Recruitment, staffing is an issue not just here in British Columbia, but indeed right across the country, and it's an issue that I have been working with my provincial colleagues and the federal government on. What I can tell you is that we have expanded capacity at the Justice Institute, so to make sure that we're able to have get the recruits that are needed. At the same time, in terms of the transition, my Director of Police Services will be monitoring to ensure that we are not seeing negative impacts on other detachments, and working to ensure that's why we're taking the time to make sure that everything's done right and that we're seeing an orderly transition.
That's Mike Farnworth speaking to a question about whether this transition would affect other municipalities and their ability to recruit police officers. And that was a question from CBC's Mira Baines. And my guest is Linda Annis, Surrey City Councillor. So how do you envision the Surrey Police Service then? Like, what would improve? You know, you're in the fastest growing municipality in BC. What would a municipal police force bring that would be better?
Well, they become very familiar with the community for starts. They're very active in terms of community policing. Surrey is a very, very diverse community, and they have responded to that. You know, we're seeing it already. We're seeing them in the community a lot. We're seeing, you know, members that represent and reflect the residents of Surrey.
Oh, Councillor?
Hi.
Oh, okay. All right. And that was it. All right. I thought you had more to add to that point. And what do you make of this commitment? It was interesting to see the commitment from the Deputy Commissioner of the RCMP saying we are going to work closely with SPS and the province, given that, you know, there has been some resistance in the past, right? So what do you make of that that commitment to work together?
I've known the Assistant Commissioner for a number of years now, and I have the utmost respect for him, for his professionalism, for his dedication. And he is just a truly professional individual. And I know that we can count on him to ensure that the transition moves smoothly from here on in.
Tom is our next caller now in Vancouver. Hi, Tom. Welcome to the show. What are your thoughts on
Hi,
a
Michelle.
date now?
Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
Yeah. My comment is I think this is a really unfortunate decision on the part of the provincial government. My feeling is that the Brenda Locke and Council had a mandate by virtue of being elected to overturn the decision to go with Surrey Policing Service. I think there was a few years ago, I'm not sure what the provincial commission was, but there was a recommendation to go with a regional policing service. And I think by establishing a Surrey Policing Service, there is a distinct possibility down the road that we would end up going through this whole process again. So there's
with another municipality.
Yeah, well, throughout the province, that Surrey will make this transition to a Surrey Policing Service and then have to repeat it again if we go with a regional police service as recommended in that commission or inquiry that was carried out. So I think it's premature, it's inappropriate, it's a waste of money. And I worked in Surrey, and my experience with working with the RCMP was very positive. They were an asset to the community.
Tom, are you there? I think somehow our connection was lost with Tom. He was talking there about the special committee on reforming the Police Act in BC. I want to ask Councillor Annis, what do you think this will mean then for the relationship between the city of Surrey and the province? He says there this was overreach. Obviously, it's been acrimonious, right? So how do you see the relationship moving forward?
Well, the relationship has to improve. Right now, the relationship is not good. We need to fix that. We need to work very closely with the provincial government and the federal government. We're a big city and we're growing at the rate of between 1,200 and 1,500 people each and every month. We need the help from the province to build infrastructure here, to build more schools, and we've got to work together. And I would say the same, with the federal government as well. We have so many people moving here. I think since I've been elected, we've had more than 50,000 people move here. It's almost another city coming here every 5 years. We need to figure a way to repair our relationship and move it forward.
Okay, and I have 30 seconds, Max, but you're in Surrey. I'd like you to get in here, so please do go ahead. Hi, Max in Surrey, are you there? Okay, we are not able to connect with Max in Surrey. My apologies. I have 30 seconds left, Councillor, but what do you think will be the impact of this on the next municipal election?
Well, I think people are fed up with what's been going on. It's just been so much turmoil, trying to decide Surrey Police Service, RCMP, and it's been our single focus. And, I think we've got to get back on track. Certainly now, we don't need to be thinking about the election yet. We need to be thinking about what's good for the residents of Surrey. And all this back and forth is not good because we're losing out in terms of building a lot of infrastructure that we need.
Thank you so much for your time and for joining us on such short notice.
Thank you for having me.
Surrey City Councillor Linda Annis.